This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Wendy Griffith. Americans are being told to prepare for community outbreaks of the coronavirus. The Centers for Disease Control yesterday warning the outbreaks could lead to severe disruptions of daily life.
Asking the American public to work with us to prepare in the expectation that this could be bad. We really want to prepare the American public for the possibility that their lives will be disrupted because of this pandemic.
The coronavirus is now spreading worldwide. Cases are being reported in more than 30 countries, including Italy and Spain. Health experts say that means it's only a matter of time before we start seeing outbreaks here in the United States. And CBN's health reporter Lori Johnson is joining us now to talk about what it means for us and how we can prepare for the virus coming to America. Lori, we know there's about 50-some cases in the United States right now, but those people are isolated. How might that change, though?
Well, now we know that there are cases in over 30 countries, as you said, and there's just no way to keep people from 30-plus countries out of the United States. Yeah. At first, we had travel bans for people traveling from China, where the virus was located and pretty much contained. But over the weekend, we saw some outbreaks in some other countries, for example, Italy, in northern Italy. And we now know that some people from Italy went to Spain. Now there's an outbreak there. Austria, same thing from Spain. We saw an outbreak in Iran, and we know some people from Iran went to Iraq and Kuwait. So again, it's just a matter of time before people from those affected countries start coming to the United States.
Well, Americans are being told to prepare. How do we do that, Lori?
Well, what we are going to be facing is, if we see outbreaks in the United States, is we're going to be seeing some closures like we've seen in other countries. So what would that be? School closures. Maybe your office might close. Maybe the grocery store might close. Wow. You might be planning an evening out on Broadway, and there might be an outbreak in New York City. So you can't go to the show anymore. Public transportation, subways and whatnot. So prepare for this. You might need to work from home and get your tech game up a little bit. Right. And if you are diagnosed with coronavirus, you might be asked to self-quarantine for 2 weeks. Stay home for 2 weeks. Do you have enough food for that? These are things that people can be thinking about right now. Getting your medications stocked up in case you have to self-quarantine for a couple of weeks.
Well, what should we know about this virus? I mean, it's not the flu.
Right.
What is it exactly?
Right. Well, I spoke with Dr. Frank Esper, an infectious disease specialist at the Cleveland Clinic, who said so far the death rate is 2%, and that's too high, but it means 98% of people who become infected get better. And so far, there are no reports of any deaths of small children.
I don't know what it is, but kids seem protected. When you looked at the tens of thousands of cases that were identified in China, all right, and they were reporting like 70,000+ cases, there was a smallest of half a fraction that came from children under the age of 20 years old. Almost everybody was over the age of 20 and predominantly over the age of 50. For whatever reason, you know, when they gave the age group of 0 to 9, it was only like less than 1% of all the cases, and certainly less, and not even any deaths in children between the ages of 0 and 9. That's not to say that we are, you know, feeling good about that, but it is something to be reassured, because not only are we worried about ourselves, but we're also worried about our families. Children have a tendency to have the most viruses, so it seems a little counterintuitive, but this one seems to be really focused on the adults and not so much on the children. And I think that's going to be a very interesting area of study.
Another bit of good news, this is not an airborne virus. This is spread by droplets. When a person coughs or sneezes, droplets that can linger in the air in about a 6-foot radius for a short period of time. So if you cough or sneeze, do it into a tissue or into the crook of your arm, and those droplets, this is important, Wendy, can fall onto surfaces and we can touch them. So doctors say the very most important thing we can do to prevent getting the coronavirus is wash your hands lots of times during the day, or use hand sanitizer, 70% alcohol.
I'm thinking about that so much now. And you know, when you go to buy something now and you use your finger to sign on the thing, and I'm thinking, What did I just touch?
Good for you.
Running to the bathroom.
Yeah, this is the way we need to be changing our thinking. Try to do the elevator buttons with your elbow. Don't shake hands. The list goes on.
Oh, thank you so much, Lori. We appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Well, stay with us for the latest on the coronavirus as we continue to provide updates right here on the CBN News Channel and on the CBNnews.com. Well, Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered the termination of the Visiting Forces Agreement. That's that security pact that allowed U.S. military activities in the Philippines. Will this drastic move lead to the end of 69 years of alliance between the two countries? Lucille Toulousan has more.
This military drill is just one of 300 joint activities every year between the Philippine and U.S. military under the Visiting Forces Agreement. The VFA provides the legal framework for U.S. military activities, including the entry and facilitation of U.S. troops and assets in the Philippines. Besides military training, the U.S. forces have also provided significant humanitarian assistance in times of disasters and provided surveillance in combating ISIS-inspired terrorists. But these and many more benefits will cease in 6 months because Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has ended the agreement. Security analyst Dr. Romel Banlawi says President Duterte believes that it is about time the Philippines strengthen their own defenses and assert national sovereignty.
The Philippine government feels that the United States, because of our familiarity with the U.S., is already interfering in our domestic affairs. Jurisdiction, custody, detention, compensation, and even court proceedings, those are issues that touch our national sensitivities as a sovereign nation.
Since he came to power in 2016, Duterte has been outspoken about his lack of faith in the United States and has argued that the presence of U.S. forces makes the Philippines a potential target for aggression. On the contrary, many observers believe the move will benefit China, which has claimed most of the West Philippine Sea and may threaten regional security. Neighboring countries are concerned that the scrapping of the Visiting Forces Agreement will reduce U.S. military presence, which serves as counterweight to the aggression of China in the Asia-Pacific region. Meanwhile, members of the Philippine Senate are seeking the help of the Supreme Court to determine if the chamber's concurrence is needed for repealing the treaty. They are concerned that the VFA termination might lead to the abrogation of almost 7 decades of alliance between the Philippines and the United States. They are hoping for a renegotiation of the agreement with provisions that are fairer and more protective of the country's national interest that will also address the criminal liability of the U.S. forces under Philippine law. But for President Duterte, totally abandoning the alliance is a strategy that he needs in dealing with China.
We cannot match the military power of China. That is why the Philippine government is telling China, telling to the whole world, that military option is not an option. We pray that if we have some problems, I hope we can settle these problems peacefully, diplomatically, and politically without resorting to the use of force.
Lucille Toulousan, CBN News, Manila.
Thanks, Lucille. Back here at home, a heated debate last night in South Carolina had Democratic presidential candidates taking fire from each other. But frontrunner Bernie Sanders remained the target as his opponents fought to take the lead. Charlene Aaron has the story.
With the South Carolina primary and Super Tuesday just days away, the Democratic candidates took aim at frontrunner Bernie Sanders, targeting his big spending policies and their belief that he can't beat Donald Trump in the general election.
Vladimir Putin thinks that Donald Trump should be president of the United States, and that's why Russia is helping you get elected.
Sanders also defending comments he has made praising Cuban dictator Fidel Castro.
Of course you have a dictatorship in Cuba. What I said is what Barack Obama said in terms of Cuba, that Cuba made progress on education. Yes, I think, really? Really?
Senator Elizabeth Warren once again challenged Mayor Michael Bloomberg on his treatment of women, this time pointing to allegations that he urged a female employee to have an abortion.
At least I didn't have a boss who said to me, kill it. the way that Mayor Bloomberg
never
alleged
said
to
that.
have said to one of his pregnant employees.
Bloomberg denied ever making that comment, but did apologize for past offensive statements in an effort to put the issue behind him.
Probably wrong to make the jokes. I don't remember what they were, so I assume if it bothered them, I was wrong, and I apologize. I'm sorry for that.
At times, it appeared the moderators lost control, with the candidates speaking over one another. Sanders also hit hard on how he'll pay for his big spending plans, like Medicare for All, the Green New Deal, and free college tuition.
No, the math does not add up. In fact, just on 60 Minutes this weekend, he said he wasn't going to rattle through the nickels and the dimes. Well, let me tell you how many nickels and dimes we're talking about. Nearly $60 trillion. Do you know how much that is for all of his programs? That is 3 times the American economy, not the federal government, the entire American economy.
Former South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg, second behind Sanders in delegates, made the case that if Sanders wins the nomination, Democrats will be the big losers in November.
I'll tell you exactly what it adds up to. It adds up to 4 more years of Donald Trump, Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House, and the inability to get the Senate into Democratic hands.
Asked about Middle East peace, Sanders said the U.S. should reach out to both Palestinians and the Israelis and bashed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
You have a reactionary racist who is now running that country.
Former Vice President Joe Biden, who performed poorly in Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, has called the upcoming South Carolina primary his firewall because of the support of black voters.
If you don't win South Carolina, will you continue in
I will win South Carolina.
With all the shouting, it's not clear exactly who won Tuesday night's debate, but it's the last one before Super Tuesday, with more than 30% of the delegates up for grabs. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
To have sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
An ABC News anchor has been suspended after an undercover video showed him criticizing the network. The conservative group Project Veritas released the video of ABC correspondent David Wright seemingly complaining about their political coverage. Take a look.
It's terrible. I feel like it's like the truth suffers. The voters are poorly informed, and people also have the opportunity to tune in to whatever they want to hear. And so there's no I don't know. It's like there's no upside in our bosses don't see an upside in doing the job that we're supposed to do, which is to hold, speak truth to power and hold people to account.
ABC News responded in a statement today saying, quote, any action that damages our reputation for fairness and impartiality or gives the appearance of compromising it harms ABC News and the individuals involved. David Wright has been suspended, and to avoid any possible appearance of bias, he will be reassigned away from political coverage when he returns. And joining us now with more from the Media Research Center is Dan Gaynor. Dan, what is your reaction to all of this?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's just shocking that they didn't fire him. I mean, you know, really, they're upset that he embarrassed them. He said some negative things about the network, about what they broadcast, about how tied in they are with Disney, putting Disney princesses and Marvel Avengers on the morning shows, and how, you know, they talks about their business ideas. But he came out. I mean, this is a guy who came out very obviously and said he's not just a democratic socialist, he's a socialist. Well, only a few weeks ago, he did a Nightline broadcast about Bernie Sanders, where he talked about how Bernie Sanders was on fire, how integrity and authenticity are words his supporters use. Those are Wright's words. And then a few weeks later, we find out, oh, yeah, by the way, he's a socialist. Maybe he was a little bit biased when he did that reporting.
Yeah, maybe. Well, do you think it's fair, though, for groups like Project Veritas to be taking these hidden videos? I mean, what's their goal?
Well, their goal is some transparency. The problem we've got with the network media is across the board. They're overwhelmingly liberal. They cover everything from the left, from abortion to taxes to Trump. And so that insinuates itself into their coverage, and as obvious with Wright. And so what Project Veritas is doing is they're trying to level the playing field, make sure the reporters maybe come across a little less biased. Maybe they think before they do the reporting, to basically turn the tables on them. I wish it wasn't necessary, because this is a tool that can be used against everybody, including you and I and everybody watching. But I don't see any way that the media are reforming on their own. They don't care to try.
Well, do you think the media bias has been more apparent during Trump's presidency?
Yeah, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, that's probably about 804. Yeah, I mean, Trump has a unique ability he's sort of like a truth mirror. And whenever the journalists look at it, they just can't hide who they are. And so we've seen dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands of examples of different reporters and editors and producers outing themselves as just dyed-in-the-wool, anti-Trump, anti-conservative, often anti-Christian, just venomous people. And they're the ones who are shaping our news agenda every single day.
Well, like you said, at least Trump is calling him out on it. Well, Dan Gaynor with the Media Research Center, we always appreciate your insights. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Still ahead, a look at a new movie about a Ku Klux Klan member who changed for love and the consequences he faced.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
On the Home Front, Tuesday morning at 10:30.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
New at the box office this week is a film ripped from the pages of real-life headlines. The KKK raises an orphan who grows up and falls in love with a woman who pushes him to change his racist ways. The Klan comes after him, seeking revenge. He finds help, friendship, and comfort in a black preacher. Studio 5 has your first look at Burden.
This is a movie that I wrote it 20 years ago. It's not a reaction to anything. You know, it's just a beautiful story about overcoming hatred and bigotry through love, faith, and acceptance.
The weapons that we use to fight fear, they're not brutality, they're not wrath, they're not hate. They are and will always be love.
It's the story about a man, Mike Burden. He ends up falling in love, essentially for the first time. Is given a choice between love or to leave the Klan.
A lot of bad things in my life. Things I now regret.
If you truly want to leave the Klan, then your first step is admitting what you've done.
He needs a reverend that sort of shows him a new direction in a way, a new choice in life. How to love, how to respect, how to forgive.
We're in the midst of an epidemic. Right here in Lawrence.
Reverend Kennedy is a protest minister in the South, and he meets Mike Burden, and he recognizes that this person, or Mike, has this door that's opening maybe. If he's able to, like, walk by his own problems, the Reverend is able to walk by his own prejudice and stuff.
Can't get rid of hate unless you replace it with something else.
I felt like this was something significant. And I felt like I wanted to be a part of telling a story like this. Even in the character, I felt like there's a journey for him. Every character specifically has a journey of their own.
Am I understanding that you would like a room for that man? You know who that man is?
I know him as a brother in Christ.
And a reverend.
We are in the midst of having the same issues of hate, and what are you going to choose to do? Are you going to choose to be that, or are you going to be the person that changes that?
I'm praying for some kind of sign. If this ain't a sign, then I don't know what is.
How could you let that man in this house?
It's a pure test of whether or not he can love somebody who was his enemy, and through that love be able to move that person and himself to become more full human beings.
I ain't no Klansman no more.
You don't lead a Klan, Daddy. It's in you. They may set crosses burning in the middle of the night, but we will fill the night with a different kind of fire.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 9:30.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
And finally, Ethiopian Jews have been called one of Israel's lost tribes. Thousands are returning to their ancestral home, and unfortunately, they face daunting challenges in building new lives in the Promised Land. CBN's Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell brings us the story.
The Netflix movie Red Sea Diving Resort tells the real-life story of how Mossad, Israel's secret service, started smuggling thousands of Ethiopian Jews safely into Israel 40 years ago. Now, 2 generations later, more than 90,000 Ethiopian Jews live here. Many see themselves as descendants of the ancient Hebrew tribe of Dan. Each year, many of them celebrate the Sigd, an ancient holiday marking how God brought them to Israel. But these Ethiopian Jews face major challenges integrating into Israeli society. That's where Karen Hanan Ainor, or KHA, comes in. It's an organization committed to help young Ethiopians make the leap into higher education.
Everything starts in education. We're here to just push and push and push to get people into higher education, and this way have a big impact on their own community.
For 26 years, the group has provided them more than 4,000 scholarships across 50 fields of education.
It helps me financially. I'm doing my second degree in MBA, and it's very expensive, unfortunately.
Yaakov plans to use her degree to take her own leap of faith.
To start up a business of myself. Right now I'm quality assurance. I'm consult for biotech field for startup companies. I want to do it by myself.
In Israel, education opens doors.
Education is the key to integrate and to involve in every corner in every profession in Israel.
Dr. Siga Malaku received one of the first scholarships presented and now leads the KHA.
In Israeli society, to integrate if you are not educated, and especially you are from Ethiopia and our skin color and everything, if you don't have a formal education in the professionally, it's not easy to integrate. But by the way, this kind of scholarship gives opportunity not for only first generation, also second generation too.
Malaka is seeing the impact from one generation to another.
We're trying to push forward a generation that sometimes needs a little bit of help in order to complete a very important thing that they have started.
Those behind KHA will continue to push generations forward in the hope one day their scholarships won't be needed. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Chris. That's going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. From all of us here, have a great day and God bless.